Hi, this is Jeremy Moskowitz, Group Policy MVP and founder of PolicyPak software. And in this video, we're going to talk about if you've got ScriptLogic's Privilege Authority, either the free version or the pay version, that you're not quite as secure as you could be. And I'm going to show you the better together story with PolicyPak and ScriptLogic's Privilege Authority. So let's just get started right away. I'm logged in right now as a standard user. His name is eSalesUser3. There's no Privilege Authority magic turned on at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and run Adobe Reader X. So if I go ahead and go to Edit Preferences here, there are a lot of settings here that a standard user can change that will negatively impact security. For instance, if a user has this checkbox checked of Enable Acrobat JavaScript, that actually could be an attack vector for the bad guys to use on this system. Sure, it'd be great if you could tell all the users to uncheck that checkbox, but how can you be sure? And that's exactly what we're going to deliver first using PolicyPak. Second thing we want to do is to talk about security enhanced. Again, if they uncheck this checkbox here, that puts you in a bad place. There's absolutely nothing that saying that a user can't click OK and say yes, and that's it. You've now negatively impacted your security, just like that. And again, that's a standard user doing that. If you go to Edit Preferences, no, we don't want to do that. Thank you. If we want to, if we click on Updater, okay, you might have it set for one. You might want to set the updater properties for one population to automatically install, and another set of the population to do not download or install the updates automatically. But there's really no way to enable the user to do both, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So if I were to, the default here that I have for this demonstration is that it's set to automatically install updates. If I set it to do not download or install updates automatically and click OK, I get thrown a big UAC, user account control box, in my face. So that's not a very pleasant experience for the user if you want to enable them to change that setting. So the better together story is that PolicyPak can deliver the settings inside the application and also prevent users from changing things. But the ScriptLogic Privilege Authority part of it enables the UAC prompts to go away because you're injecting the correct privilege to the right process. So let's go ahead and see that here. So let's go right to my group policy editor here, and against my eSales users, I'm going to create a GPO and link it to my eSales users, and I'm going to call it Manage Acrobat with PolicyPak. I'm going to right-click, click Edit here, and we're just doing the PolicyPak magic on this part first. So we'll dive down under PolicyPak Applications, New Application, and the three I've got locked and loaded for this particular demonstration right now is Firefox, WinZip, and Fox IT Reader, which is not the ones I wanted. So let me go ahead and add the additional ones. I've got those hanging out here under my pre-configured policy packs. So what we'll do here is I'll just there they are. There's my big list. We have a lot of pre-configured policy packs available on the website. What we're going to do is throw these into the PolicyPak extensions folder on our machine here. So let's see, for this demonstration, I want to do Acrobat. So that's this guy. And we're also going to talk about Flash. Talk about this guy next here. And there's another pack that I want to do a little later with region and language options. So I'll go ahead and move that guy there. Okay, so now I've locked and loaded the PolicyPak pre-configured packs I'm going to use for this demonstration. So let me go ahead and re-edit that group policy object here. And under PolicyPak Applications, I'll go to New App, and there's Acrobat Reader X, just like we wanted to. And there's Firefox and Flash Player, and there's region and language options. We're going to use those guys a little later. So I'll click on Acrobat Reader X for now, and we're just delivering PolicyPak settings. Let's go right for JavaScript, and we're going to uncheck the Enable Acrobat JavaScript. Now, we can deliver that setting, but it's much more interesting if we can right-click and check this out, disable the corresponding control in the target application. So PolicyPak can deliver the check or uncheck and also gray out the UI so the user can't screw it up. So we're literally going to change the UI. Let's go over to Security Enhanced, and if the user has unchecked that checkbox, we want to recheck the checkbox. We're going to guarantee that that checkbox is always checked, and while we're here, we'll also disable the corresponding control in the target application. And let's go to Updater as well. Let's for these eSales users, let's change the default for them from automatically install updates to do not download or install updates automatically. So we'll go ahead and do that and click OK. So again, all we've done so far is just PolicyPak magic. We'll go ahead and run GP update on our client machines here. Now, while you're waiting for GP update, remember this could be you could be logging off and logging back on. You could be changing machines. You could get a new VDI session or a new terminal server session, or changing job roles. Anything where group policy refreshes, that's when we get applied. So we'll go ahead and rerun Acrobat Reader X here. Go to Edit Preferences, and we'll jump right to the JavaScript one here. And look what we did. We unchecked that checkbox, and we're guaranteeing that setting. And look, we've grayed out the UI, so a user can't possibly screw that up. How cool is that? We'll dive down under Security Enhanced, and we've guaranteed that checkbox. So before we left, the user had unchecked that checkbox, and now we're guaranteeing that on. And now let's finish up by talking about Updater. Cool. So we've changed the setting for Updater, so we're guaranteeing that it's do not downloading or install updates automatically. But what if you want the users in this particular OU or whatever to be able to do that? If they click on automatically install updates and click OK, big old UAC prompt right in our face. So this is where ScriptLogic's Privilege Authority is going to help out. So far, just the PolicyPak stuff. Now we're going to bring on the Privilege Authority stuff. Now, Privilege Authority has its own console to manage its own rules, and I've pre-created 3 rules into 3 different GPOs to kind of accelerate our little demonstration here. I've got a rule to allow Acrobat Reader to update. I've got another one later for Flash. I have a third one later for region and language settings. I've already done the work inside Privilege Authority, and I've created the group policy objects here. So what I'm going to do for Acrobat Reader, I'm simply going to drag and drop the pre-created GPO that I've got from Privilege Authority to allow Acrobat Reader to update. So I've got the PolicyPak one here. I've got the Privilege Authority one here. It doesn't matter really what order they're in. And now back on our user station, we can run GP update again. We could log off or log back on, get a new machine, start a new VDI session, anything like that will prompt group policy to refresh. And as soon as group policy is done refreshing, we can rerun Acrobat Reader. Let's go ahead and do that now. We'll dive down under Edit Preferences, and not a whole lot changes. But again, just to be super clear, PolicyPak rather is delivering the settings here. It's delivering the settings, the security settings there. It's delivering the security settings under Security Enhanced. And now for Updater, here's where the better together story comes in. When you've got ScriptLogic Privilege Authority working with you here, if a user now clicks on automatically install updates, no more UAC prompt. We've eliminated the UAC prompt. So it's great if you've got a privilege management tool like ScriptLogic Privilege Authority. It really helps to allow the user to run as standard user while minimizing the UAC prompts. But it just doesn't have anything to do with dealing with the critical security settings within the application. Let's do another one just for fun. Let's go ahead and I'll close that out. And what I'm going to do is let's talk about Flash Player. Let me show you a very interesting website called, let's go ahead here, testmycam.com. Now, this is very interesting. This uses the Flash Player and a regular user. I'm not an admin at this point. I'm just eSales user 3. At this point, you can just click Allow, and bingo, you're on camera. And here I am making this video right now, looking right at you. So here's the story. You do not want a regular user to be able to do things like this. You want to be able to manage where a user can and can't do things like this. And the problem is that there's nothing like that in Flash Player. And if your user is able to click OK, and now they're using a webcam like this, or the microphone is surreptitiously turned on, you don't want those corporate secrets to walk out the door. And that's exactly what PolicyPak helps to fix. Not to mention, if you right-click over and go to settings or global settings here, there's a whole lot of things that a user can click on that are really confusing, and probably you don't want them clicking on at all. I mean, for instance, you may not want Flash Player to check for updates. here is where you would set that. But you don't want to run around to every desktop to make that magic happen. And meanwhile, camera and mic, sure, it's great if you can teach one user to block all sites from using the camera and microphone. It's yet another thing to deliver the setting and lock it down so a user can't possibly work around it. Let's go ahead and use PolicyPak to do just that. So I'll go ahead and switch gears back over to my management station, and I'll create a GPO called Manage Flash with PolicyPak. Okay, so I'll now right-click over, go to Edit here. We'll dive down under PolicyPak Applications, right-click New Application, and there's Flash Player. Now, PolicyPak is way more than an ADM template. We're not an ADM template, actually. We're a true application management system. So if we want to block all the sites from using the camera and microphone, that's great. We can deploy that setting and also right-click and disable the corresponding control in the target application. Literally gray out those radio buttons so a user can't mess that setting up. We can also, for this whole camera and microphone settings by site, we can also disable the corresponding control in the target application. Let's go over to Advanced, where we can force it to never check for updates. Even though it's not recommended by Flash. The idea is that if you have a corporate way to deploy Flash for updates, then it is recommended to never check for updates. However, like I said, if there are instances where you want a user population to be able to download and install their own Flash updates without getting prompted, that is where the Better Together story, as we're going to see with ScriptLogic Privilege Authority, is coming right around the bend. So we'll leave the Check Now button, but this other thing, this trusted location settings, it's actually kind of a little scary. That can let a user kind of bypass everything and sort of act as an administrator. So we're going to disable the corresponding control in the target application. Actually, let's just hide the whole button altogether. That's even more fun. Hide the corresponding control. And under playback, we'll leave it the way it is, but we can disable the whole tab in the target application. So we've done all that stuff. We're just doing PolicyPak magic for starters. We'll go ahead and click OK here. And so now what we'll do is on our client machine here, we will simply run GP Update. And when we run GP Update, we're getting the settings from PolicyPak through Group Policy to deliver those settings that we said and also lock down the UI so a user can't possibly change it. Okay, that's done. Let's go ahead and rerun that web page, www.testmycam.com, and look at that. No camera. That's the whole point. We've actually delivered the setting and locked it down so a user can't work around it. If they go back to global settings here, even as a standard user, it looks like they can change some of the settings. Well, if we're not dictating them through PolicyPak, they are changeable. So if a user would like to do these things, they can do that, but not, for instance, this camera and mic item, where what we are doing is, I know it doesn't look like it because the UI doesn't show that we are, but it's clear that we are, in fact, blocking all sites from using the camera and microphone, because otherwise you would see my picture here again, but you don't. So it's grayed out. That's PolicyPak delivering the setting and locking the UI out so a user can't work around it. And look, this button is grayed out too. PolicyPak did that. PolicyPak also delivered a gray tab for playback. And let's go to Advanced. So, oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to right-click and set it so that a user can't change this setting. Let's go ahead and do that because that's kind of fun. Let me just go ahead and do that. I forgot to do that. Let's go ahead and do that. Go to Advanced, right-click over that, and disable the corresponding control. So we're going to make sure that they can't change this this updater button here. So we'll go ahead and go there. We'll rerun GP Update. My bad. I meant to do that earlier. Okay, that's done. Let's go ahead and rerun testmycam.com. Testmycam, there we go. Right-click, go to Global Settings. Yep, I'm just a standard user. We'll go ahead and click on Advanced. Look at that. So we're delivering graying out of that radio button. So, and underneath the hood, it really is set to never check for updates. Even though the UI doesn't quite show that, it really is. But we've left that Check Now button. Now, for regular users, that could be kind of confusing. In fact, if they click Check Now and they go to download the latest version of Flash. Let's go ahead and do that as a user. Let's play pretend and download this as a regular user. We'll click download now, and we'll save it first. And I know there's a bunch of different ways you can possibly do this. I'm just showing you one example here. And as you expected, you get a UAC prompt because as a regular standard user, you don't have rights to do that. So let's assume you wanted to grant rights to the user to make that change. How would you do that? Well, PolicyPak doesn't do that. PolicyPak delivers all those settings we just talked about. What we are going to do is I created in advance a privilege authority rule called allow Flash to update. I've already created that one. So I'm going to take that privilege manager rule here, allow Flash to update. I'm going to link it over to my East Sales users. That's it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run GP update here. It will be downloading the privilege authority rule that we've linked over to the group policy object. It's going to go ahead and download it. And as soon as it's done, we can try to rerun it. And in fact, while that's working, I can kind of go and view downloads. There it is. There's my install flashplay.exe. So now that group policy is done. Before, when I clicked run, I got a UAC prompt in my face. Now when I click run, what do we get? No UAC prompt. So the whole point is this better together story. PolicyPak delivers and locks down the settings you need, and ScriptLogic Privilege Authority removes the UAC prompt, elevating the rights for the user to do what you need them to do. All right, I'm going to close out all these windows. We've got one more better together story that I want to cover, which is let's talk about a standard application that a user might use. And I don't happen to have one that I'm particularly fond of, so I've decided to do this demonstration using the regional and language options that are in Windows 7. Now, first and foremost, there's a lot of stuff that a user can do wrong, can possibly screw things up here. And there might be some corporate settings that you want to guarantee for a certain collection of users, like what's the first day of the week for my East Sales users? Well, maybe it's not Sunday, maybe it's Tuesday. And what happens if they change it and it's the wrong thing? Well, long story short, again, PolicyPak's job is to deliver the settings and lock things down. But then a tool like ScriptLogic's Privilege Authority is going to help you whenever you have applications that have these scary old UAC prompts. So what happens if we click on one of these UAC prompts? We get a UAC prompt, as you might expect. So rather, you click on the UAC button and you get a UAC prompt. So same thing with these other two guys here, copy settings and change system locale. As soon as you whoops, yeah, I'll go ahead and select that. So as soon as you go ahead and click on any of these buttons here, you get the big old UAC prompt in your face. Now, that's not what PolicyPak does. PolicyPak's job is to help deliver the settings and guarantee them locked down. Let's go ahead and do both. Let's do it both in one shot. So back over on our management station, I actually already have a rule with Privilege Authority set up to allow region and language UAC bypass. I have a group policy for that already here. Whoops, there we go. So I'll switch back here to my management console, and I'll go ahead and link that one first. I'll allow privilege authorities, region and language UAC bypass. I've already got that GPO set up, and I'll create a new GPO called Manage Language and Regional Options using PolicyPak. So I've got the privilege authority rule set up already for the UAC bypass part, and now I'm going to manage the regional options using PolicyPak. So I'll dive down under PolicyPak Applications, New Application, and we'll go ahead and pick Region and Language. And I created this pack using our free PolicyPak Design Studio, and it took about 5 whole minutes to do. So I'll go ahead and configure this and make that first day of the week Tuesday like we talked about. I'll right-click and disable the corresponding control in the target application. And that additional settings button that's here for users, maybe that's too much for them to handle. So we can right-click and disable the corresponding control in the target application. Literally remove, hide the corresponding control. That's what I want to do. Literally rip the button right off the page there. So I'll hide that. And let's see, for any of these other ones here, maybe for location, we'll right-click and disable the whole tab as well, just for fun. But we'll leave everything else the way it is because, as we know, this guy and this guy and this other guy here all have UAC prompts on them. But maybe it is too much for a user to handle this install or uninstall languages thing. So we can, again, disable the corresponding control in the target application. So we'll go ahead and click OK. And so let's make sure we got it straight. We're delivering the settings and locking things down using PolicyPak, but we're also using Privilege Authority to allow region and language settings UAC bypass. So let's go ahead and run GP update here. Again, we could just wait for group policy to kick in, or we could log off and log back on and get these settings. That's the best part about being part of the operating system. Whatever technology you're using for desktops or laptops or VDI just happens to work awesome because group policy is part of the operating system. So as soon as this is done, we can go ahead and run regional options here. And let's see the PolicyPak stuff work first. There we go. We're delivering first day of the week is locked into Tuesday. Look at that. We've locked the location down. The tab there is locked down. The button that was there for additional settings just ripped right off the page. PolicyPak does that. If we go to the other UAC prompts here, well, look what we did here. PolicyPak also, even though this is running, this regional language options is now running as an administrator, we're now able to gray out settings so even administrators can't run that tool. So that's pretty high-tech stuff. If we click on any of these UAC prompt buttons here, well, if we've got the Privilege Authority rule set up in place and it's linked to the right place, the next time we click on one of these buttons, what should happen? No more UAC prompt. Exactly right. That's the whole point. So I think you've got it together. The Better Together story should be super clear now. PolicyPak's job, deliver settings, lock them down, because if it's important enough, the application is important enough to deploy and use, it's important enough to manage. And a tool like ScriptLogic Privilege Authority and other privilege management tools, their job is to help you run your users as a standard user. Like I said, this guy, eSales User 3, is just a standard user. But if you have a UAC prompt and you want them to be able to bypass it, that is what a Privilege Authority style tool will do for you. If you're ready to use PolicyPak if you're ready to deliver your settings using PolicyPak and truly lock stuff down, we are ready for you. Just go ahead and make contact with us on our webpage by clicking on the big old download button or the webinar button on our webpage, or just pick up the phone and make contact. We'll give you the bits and you'll be up and running in PolicyPak in really under 10 minutes, I promise. So with that in mind, thanks so much. Remember, with PolicyPak, what you set is what they get. Thanks so much. Take care.